Hi, this is Mike Madoda, and you can catch me and the team for all the latest breaking news out of the world of sport, local as well as international, on your favorite station, my station, your station, ZiFM. We are Z-Team on ZiFM Sport.
Zimbabwe's finest radio. ZiFM Stereo.
It's Lionel Messi! He scored! The goal the world wanted!
It's time for the biggest sports stories.
It's Neymar trying to feed it through. It's a stretch and it's in! And I can't remember the last time I saw something like this. Extraordinary scenes.
The biggest interviews.
It's more difficult. Obviously, it's more difficult.
And all the analysis right here.
If they play poorly, they come back, they've got all the excuses. You can't have it both ways.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport. Let's join the team for the biggest show in the world of sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.
Lucky or a product of strategy, regardless, Manchester United is in the next round of the Champions League. What a comeback last night. No doubt we'll be talking about that a bit later on in the beautiful game. But ahead of that, there's lots to get through, albeit that this is our short show. We'll be here until 1:30, the bottom of the hour, some like to call it. Mike Madoda is with me in the studio, and so is Sean Tafirenyika. I'm Barry Manandi. Gonna be a good one. Strap yourselves in. It's gonna go quickly, but you're gonna have fun.
The Home Front. Local sports news and analysis.
Don't forget to send in your hashtags, your pro feeds, hashtags if you want to be in with a chance of being in the competition. Of course, the main draw for our monthly prize will be on the last Friday of this month of March, and we're giving a fantastic one. We'll remind you of exactly what we're giving away a bit later on. Let's give you some local sports news updates before we go into our local feature. We start with rugby, where the Zimbabwe senior national men's sevens have announced a 33-man training squad for the Kwese Sevens tournament to be held at Harare Sports Club from the 23rd to the 24th of March. All Georgians and under-21 sensation Jerry Jaravasa has been called up for training alongside Australia-based 23-year-old Hayden Wilson. However, the Cheetahs will have to make do without Tafadzwa Chitokwindo, Shane Makombe, Tapiwa Tsomondo, Connor Pritchard, Laki Sitole and Shingirai Hlanguyo, as they are currently fulfilling obligations with their foreign-based clubs, amongst other commitments. In football news, the Warriors technical team led by coach Sunday Mofu Chidzambwa has said the players omitted from the provisional squad to face Congo Brazzaville later this month can still force their way into contention for a place in the squad for the Africa Cup of Nations finals in Egypt if Zimbabwe qualifies. Chidzambwa on Tuesday named his 28-man squad for the decisive clash set for the National Sports Stadium on March the 24th, where the Warriors need at least a draw to book a place in the finals this June in Egypt.
Zimbabwe's finest radio. ZiFM Stereo.
But we centre on cricket, where the Chevrons will clash with the United Arab Emirates from the 4th to the 14th of April in 4 one-day internationals in Harare before hosting Afghanistan in 5 matches of an one-day international series from the 16th to the 29th of April. Zimbabwe will be returning to action for the first time since their visit to Bangladesh last year, following the postponement of the India tour of Zimbabwe, which would have taken place this month. Zimbabwe cricket have been trying to plug the gap of the national team's inactivity and have been aided by Afghanistan, who were desperate for this series as they prepare for the World Cup in England. Barry Manandi, good news for Zimbabwe cricket that at least they won't be inactive.
Yeah, some action coming through, and one opponent who logically, thinking rationally, we should be able to do the business against, that's the UAE.
Yeah.
And then one very tough opponent, and that is Afghanistan, who in truth, if we're to call a spade, are a little ahead of us in terms of quality and class of play. So a lot of good cricket coming on its way.
Yeah, absolutely. Afghanistan qualified for the World Cup, and so they'll see this as a valuable game time before they head out to England and Wales for that top-tier competition, which unfortunately Zimbabwe misses out on. So we can certainly expect Afghanistan to put their best foot forward, and Zimbabwe will be trying, of course, to redeem themselves and beat nations that they're expected to beat. The United Arab Emirates upcoming, but Zimbabwe should be able to do the business. But Afghanistan, like Barry said, will certainly be a tougher test. Now, Barry, a lot of people are excited that cricket is coming to our shores, but the fans in Bulawayo are disappointed because when you look at the itinerary for these tours, there are 9 matches to be played in total, 4 versus the UAE and 5 versus Afghanistan, all 9 matches to be played at Harare Sports Club.
Disappointing, very disappointing that no matches are going to be played out at Queen's Sports Club out in Bulawayo, because I really think that is a golden opportunity to play a couple of matches, possibly in each of the tours. Maybe the first 2 or the last 2 could have been scheduled for Bulawayo, but instead everything is going to be at Harare Sports Club, a venue also where these teams know, because they were here for that World Cup qualifier, both the UAE and Afghanistan. So one would have liked to see them go out to Queen's Sports Club, and we know that the Queen's crowd shows up whenever cricket is played there, and they are vociferous in their support for the Chevrons. So it's shocking that they aren't taking cricket.
Yeah, absolutely. It's shocking, Barry. I think the logical decision, one would have thought, would to be at least to take one of the tours. Yeah. At least take the United Arab Emirates out to Bulawayo, or take Afghanistan out to Bulawayo. Now, just taking a look at some of the messages that we have been getting, fans not happy at all because of this decision made by Zimbabwe cricket. Gladman Dube says Zimbabwe is poor because our leaders in all sectors are obsessed with Harareism. With that retrogressive mentality, we are going nowhere as a country. Just copy South Africa. Then you got Vumi Moyo says, totally agreed. When is the last time even the Warriors played at Barberfields? It's not just a cricket issue. Tatenda Hakunavanu says, why not try Mutare Sports Club or Kwekwe Vodloza? As long as we continue to Hararize the nation, we will continue to fail. Let the youngsters from different parts of the country get exposure. Who knows, maybe our next Andy Flower or Henry Olonga is right here in the streets of Bulawayo. Let Zimbabwe be Zimbabwe. And then, of course, more and more messages coming in. So the sentiment, almost to a man, Barry, is one of disappointment that the Bulawayo fans, who you mentioned are great whenever the Chevrons are in town, will not have a lick of action.
Yeah, and you know what? I love the inspirational message that came through, whereby talking about inspiring the next generation, or inspiring the generations to come when the players are there. Let's take the model out of France football, where they moved Clairefontaine and created a structure where all the age groups, including the first team, train and you can see one another. That is very inspirational. If we look at the Chevrons of the past, your Edo Brandeses and that sort of ilk of player, when they were doing well, even though it was at Harare Sports Club, we saw a lot of kids in the ghetto, a lot of kids in the burbs beginning to want to play cricket. Why? Because they were seeing their stars week in, week out, and that's going to inspire the players. Take them out to Queens.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, another point is that there will be quite a large contingent of our Chevrons who are based out in Bulawayo, who should have been rewarded by being given a game in front of their own fans. If you have an opinion on this matter, get in touch with us on WhatsApp 0731 168 045 0731 168 045. That's the same number you can use to send in your pro feeds hashtags if you want to give yourself a chance of winning that fantastic prize for this month, which is a 4-plate Capri gas stove and oven. Remember, 2 questions, get both correct, you'll be in the draw. The second draw of the year will be on Friday, the 29th of March. Remember also to follow and interact with @ZiFM Sport on Twitter and Facebook. Simply follow @ZiFM Sport.
Hello, my name is Iban Etzewith. I play for the Stormers and the Springboks. You're listening to ZiFM.
International Sports News Roundup, where the world comes out to play.
All
right, in rugby news, World Rugby has released an outline of the contentious 12-team World League. It plans to launch in 2022 in an effort to quell concerns that the tournament will overtax international players and shut out Pacific Island nations. In a statement, the sports world governing body said the competition will be a two-division merit-based format with promotion and relegation and a potential pathway for all unions. The statement's use of the term merit-based implies the first league in 2022 will comprise the top dozen teams in the world rankings. Now, this story's got a lot of numbers, so I'm going to try not to channel my inner Jacob Zuma. And like Jacob Zuma said, listen properly. This is out of the NBA. LeBron James overtook Michael Jordan to move fourth on the NBA's all-time point scorer list in the LA Lakers' 115-99 defeat by the Denver Nuggets. James, who netted 31 points against the Nuggets, has scored 32,311 points. Well done, Barry. Surpassing Jordan's tally of 32,292. He achieved the feat in 1,190 games compared to Jordan's 1,072 games. Well done, Barry.
The big leagues, the big teams, the big players. The beautiful game on ZiFM Sport.
Champions League night last night, and what a night it was, certainly for Manchester United fans. Now, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer insisted Manchester United can go all the way in the Champions League after his side's historic 3-1 win at Paris Saint-Germain last night. Having been written off in their last 16 tie after a 2-0 first leg defeat to the French champions 3 weeks ago, United became the first team in Champions League history to qualify for the next round, having lost the first leg of a knockout match at home by 2 or more goals, sensationally beating Paris Saint-Germain 3-1 at the Parc des Princes to progress on away goal. Solskjaer says his side's game plan worked.
We always believed. That's the thing. We set out the plan. It wasn't about having the ball and outplaying them, because if you give this team too much space and time with Mbappe, you saw a few times in the first half when we missed our defensive shape, they threw us straight away. So the plan was to get the first goal, be in the game with 5 minutes ago or 10 minutes ago, and we were. No, I keep doing this job as best as I can every single day, and then let's see where it takes us. Well, it's been a fantastic time with the players, with the staff I've got working with me. So I've just got to say, I'm going to enjoy this job as long as I've got it. If it's another 2 months or 3 months, whatever long it is, I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to smile.
Yeah, congratulations to Manchester United and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but we have to admit that this was on the back of a very contentious penalty decision courtesy of the video assistant referee last night, and a decision that's intrigued as well as baffled.
Yeah, I think the outtake, Barry, is that a lot of people are now baffled with exactly how VAR works.
Yes.
And how the decisions are made. You've got even Manchester United legends themselves, Rio Ferdinand, former players who have come out and said, you know what, never in a million years would they have viewed that as a penalty. Former referees, Mark Clattenburg, he's come out and said again, never, that should not have been given. So people don't quite know exactly how the decision-making works. And one of the things that is mentioned in the VAR protocol is that they say that the VAR will be used to rectify clear and obvious mistakes. Exactly. Now, what happened yesterday is that the referee goes to the VAR monitor. He stands there. It took him 3 minutes to make the decision. 3 minutes. So what does it tell me, Barry? It tells me that it wasn't a clear and obvious mistake, because he's taken so long to come to a conclusion and to make a decision because he's not too sure. So it's a decision that could have gone either way. And so that for me is the contention. However, you have to go back and say, Barry, that Manchester United, history record that they won the game 3-1 and that they're in the quarterfinals of the UEFA Champions League in a game, in a tie that a lot of people, including myself, wrote off, and I'm not going to buy all this hindsight from Manchester United fans now who are trying to act like prophets and trying to act like they saw this all coming all along. A lot of them, 99% of them, didn't believe that United were going to win this match or United were going to bounce back or United were going to be competitive, but they managed to take their chances. Two dreadful mistakes by PSG, Lukaku pouncing on both and with clinical efficiency sticking both into the back of the net, and then of course that penalty. And when you score a penalty, Barry, in added time, there's little time or no time for a team to mount a comeback, and United will be in the quarterfinal draw.
Absolutely, and I think that's the most important part that you just outlined there. They are in the quarterfinals. They can celebrate that fact, but certainly are on the back of a very contentious VAR decision. And also, I hear Ole Gunnar Solskjaer saying our tactics worked. Very briefly, in your view, when you looked at those tactics, would you agree with them?
Nah, you know what? I think for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I think he should have avoided any talk whatsoever on tactics. He should have avoided any talk whatsoever on performance and the quality of the team's performance, because in truth,
they got lucky.
This is a game where I would say that Manchester United got the result, but the performance was not great. And so there's such a thing in European football as pedigree. There are teams with pedigree who know how to get the job done. They will win matches. And if you take a look at the pedigree of the two teams that were in contention, PSG have never got past the quarterfinal in recent years, despite all the money that they've managed to throw into their project. But Manchester United is a team that has been there and thereabouts. They may not have done it in recent times, but they know as a club, as an institution, how these nights are like, and so their players could lean on that tradition. Their players could lean on that experience, the experience of the club, and get over the line. The fight, the expectation of the fans, and that's what those players did yesterday. They worked their cotton socks off. They make no mistake about that. But if you were watching the match, PSG you'd have seen has got the more technically gifted side, but their attitude was wrong. The arrogance, Barry, was mind-boggling. It's almost they believed that the tie was won before the game was played, simply because they'd won 2-0 at Old Trafford.
And that's why they made the mistakes that they made. And I think in using a tennis parlance, they committed unforced errors, and those unforced errors were then punished. It wasn't necessarily because in football you can have errors that are forced upon you, whereby you're being pressed high, you're being caused to try and do things quickly, and then you make mistakes and the opposition pounces on it. No, these were unforced errors where a back pass that's gone wrong, and then goalkeeping that should be better from a very experienced goalkeeper in Gigi Buffon.
I'll play devil's advocate quite literally as well, since Manchester United are the Red Devils, because it's a cup competition. The UEFA Champions League is a cup competition, and therefore sometimes we can't use the same yardstick that we would use for league football. So you've got to say the objective in a tie is to qualify for the next round.
It is.
And we go back, Barry, you and I are Liverpool fans. You go back to 2005, that dream campaign under Rafael Benitez. There were matches where Liverpool was battered, but Liverpool managed to get the job done. It was not because they played swashbuckling football. I remember the quarterfinal versus Juventus. Liverpool got the job done. The semi-finals versus Chelsea, Liverpool got the job done, but they were battered in those games, but they kept getting over the line. So United fans will not worry about the performance. They'll not worry about the fact that they had 28 or 30% of the possession and that PSG looked the better side. What United fans will be celebrating right now is the fact that they're in the draw for the quarterfinals and in with a chance, because who knows who they'll get. They could get a Porto, they could get an Ajax, and look at those teams and say, hang on, we can take these young boys and we can be in the semi-finals, and then who knows, we're just 3 matches away from glory.
And joining Manchester United in the quarterfinals are Ajax, Tottenham, of course Manchester United as we mentioned, and Porto, who advanced to the quarterfinals of the Champions League in dramatic fashion after beating Roma 3-1 in the second leg of their last 16 tie to advance 4-3 on aggregate. That game going to extra time in actual fact. Next week's action is on Tuesday. Juventus host Atletico Madrid, Manchester City take on Schalke 04, and then on Wednesday it's Bayern Munich versus Liverpool and Barcelona versus Lyon.
To all you Twitter heads, connect with ZiFM Stereo on twitter.com/ZiFM Stereo. /ZiFM Stereo.
Well, you take a tap in these circumstances.
The Daily Sports Trivia question is brought to you by Profeeds. Profeeds, your feed and farm professionals.
It's competition time. You simply send us a WhatsApp message whenever we are on air with the hashtag Profeeds Trivia. You might be the one lucky listener who we call back. You field 2 questions, and if you get both correct, you will be our daily winner. You go into the hat, you go into the draw for our fabulous monthly prize, and our prize for March is a 4-plate Capri gas stove and oven. The draw will take place on Friday, the 29th of March. Quizmaster today is Michael.
And we are off to Chegutu, and it's good evening to you. Tumeyo Kazawa, how are you doing? Tumeyo? Hello?
To me.
I hope we haven't lost our caller. We're Tumeyo out in Chegutu. Tumeyo, we are scrambling right now to try and get hold of you because you deserve this chance to be fielding those 2 questions and giving yourself a chance of being in that fantastic draw to win a 4-plate Capri gas stove. And Barry, of course, the product range at Profeeds is something to behold.
It's astounding because Profeeds poultry feed is renowned in the market. That's for both broilers and layers. So lots of people having small-scale chicken projects and even large-scale chicken projects. Profeeds is the feed company to speak to about your poultry feed. But we've also got horse feed, cattle feed. That's for beef and dairy. Michael, I know you're a bit of a cattle farmer, as it were.
Madoda Brahmins.
In the Madoda Brahmins, exactly. So you should be getting your feed across at Profeeds. There's pig feed, goat feed, rabbit, duck feed. Oh, that's brilliant. Fish and dog feed. Of course, dog feed, Michael, for your hounds at home. In addition, we sell day-old chicks, point-of-lay hens, fingerlings, seed and fertilizer equipment, and agricultural supplies. So we're a diversified agro-produce and agro-equipment company. So you need to be talking to us so that we can get your agro project on the footing that it requires. Profeeds is a name to remember. We are all over the country, branches literally everywhere. We're opening new branches in Domboshawa and around the country to ensure that you can access our products.
Okay, to me, are you on the line, buddy?
Yes.
Hi, kwakadi kuChegutu to me.
Checkers Bo.
Bo, unosapota Chegutu Pirates ere?
Yeah,
ndo yaunomhanya nayo papfupa jena apa.
Papfupa jena apa.
One time ko mu Premier League unomhanya neipi? Dimbare Dile Chazunguza. Then kuchando.
Chando Mareds
apa iwa ka Mareds i1 ka Liverpool ndo Mareds utaurapi?
Ndo Mareds.
Taura zvako. Ndo team ka baba. But iwe kuChegutu uku ndakadzidza nomwe mfe science Kelvin Kazawa. Unomziva here?
Diblazis.
Huh?
Diblazis.
Kelvin Kazawa. I was in school with Kelvin pa Jameson ka.
Yes, Jameson.
Yes, Kelvin aipusha bora, aitamba CB ka pa Jameson apa. Nana Israel Gwanzura.
Alright.
Kazawa mira
are you going to give him the prize straight away?
I think so. Ungabotadzeka but njatokubata after this show because those what Kelvin ari kupa anditika. But are you ready for your 2 questions?
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, so the first one is what is the nickname for the Zimbabwe cricket team?
Chevrons.
Yes, well done. And then question 2, I hope you know your basketball. Which NBA team did the legendary Michael Jordan win all his 6 championships with?
Chicago Bulls.
Yes!
Well done, Tumeyo.
Mfana wasawira apinda kapa. Nice one to me. You are in with a chance of winning that 4-plate Capri gas stove and oven come our second draw of the year, which will be on Friday the 29th of March. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening in to ZiFM Sport.
My pleasure.
Cheers, mate.
Well, you take a tap in these circumstances.
The Daily Sports Trivia question was brought to you by Profeeds. Profeeds, the performance feed. Be sure to catch ZiFM Sport every weekday on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.